live this week. This is not pre-recorded. Here I am in real life, beaming to you from the north of Scotland, from Consonance Towers, with another absolutely exciting live stream. And I'm quite looking forward to this one today. It's a very, very slight indulgence. I'm going to call this the Control Freak edit, because that's the general theme running through it. We've got a lovely range of things I'm going to talk to you about today, but it's going to be in the usual topics, and we'll see if this theme lasts the duration. We're going to talk about task of the week, and this week I'm going to be showing you how I typeset novels, which is very much nothing to do with consonants. But I was doing it, I was typesetting a novel this week, and I thought, gosh, I wonder if anyone does it like this. And the answer is no, of course they don't. So I thought I'd share, because it might just be interesting, and I'll keep it snappy. I won't keep you around. And if you're watching this on catch up, you can fast forward through that bit if you like. Or 2x speed. Speed typesetting. That's what we want. We're going to look at reporting spotlight. I just want to show you a couple of things that have been added to the reporting area. That's not control freakery. Although maybe there is something there about, having access to your data, being able to interrogate it, get into it without having to ask anyone else for help. Always powerful. We'll look at from our own correspondence, and this week the correspondence is along the lines of how do I see what has happened in consonants with in a particular area. Again, it's like pulling back the curtain a little bit to see how you can, without having to ask anybody, without having to raise a ticket, go into your account and get control of the situation, understand what the facts of the matter are. This all sounds very enigmatic, doesn't it? So we'll see what sort of correspondence I'm talking about there. Then we'll look at what's new, which is just a bulletin of the things that are new. There's no angle to that, I'm afraid. I've got 3 things I want to tell you about. That's fine. And then the power move. The power move is another insight this week into what I think is how you can really stand out, be a bit different. Certainly have the special magic key to being able to just have that little bit of extra magic about you. Anyway, we will see, won't we? We'll see what you make of it. So let us crack on with task of the week. And as I say, this week we are going to rather strangely look at how I typeset novels. And as I say, it's because I was doing it this week, and a lot of the processes that I go through all tend to blur into one a little bit. If you don't know, I also run a small publishing company. That's like the origin story of Consonance. I needed some software, so obviously it took 15 years to write it. But I still keep my hand in, and we've had a wonderful novel in from a treasured author of Snow Books and other publishers, Paul Mars. And it's a very slim, it's almost like a novella. And here it is on a Word document, as is the usual way. And rather than now go and open Adobe InDesign, I'm going to do something entirely different. I'm going to convert this Word document into a type of marked up content called LaTeX. LaTeX is, well, you can Google it. It's too long for your interest, but it's another way of, there's words on the page you can see here. It's another way of having that content structured. So I'm going to export that. I'm going to render that LaTeX into the PDF format. So we've gone from Word to LaTeX to PDF, and then I'm going to walk off. And the reason I don't use InDesign is because I've been running a publishing company for over 20 years, and almost every time I've used InDesign, I have encountered a problem. And I got a stack of books. Actually, let me Let me go large just for a moment so I can show you. I thought I went through my little, shelf of books over there, and I thought I'll just pull out a few of the publications that I've done where I recall having a problem with InDesign. Every single one. So this is a corker, beautiful A4 hardback history of the fighting fantasy genre. It's full colour and it's all laid out beautifully. In InDesign, you've got the notion of books, and you can compile files within a book. It corrupted. I lost a week's work. It was miserable. Not happy fun times. That was about 15 years ago or so. Great big thick books like that. InDesign sometimes struggles. Interesting books where there's complicated layout. Oop, let me get the you can see there's sections there and images in there. InDesign got corrupted. Kind of normal novel books. This is short stories. You wouldn't think there would be too much to go wrong in that. It went wrong, etc., etc. So I am keen, whenever possible, to use non-InDesign approaches to typesetting, and this is the one that works for me. It works particularly well for monochrome publications without too many images. Just because there tends to be a tipping point, doesn't there, of effort to reward when you get a bit fancy. So anyway, I'll just show you how I do it. I've already saved this Word document as an ODT, just because the workflow I've alighted on is I use LibreOffice rather than any Microsoft products. And I've got a plugin here where I can export this to LaTeX. I don't tend to change any of the default options that you see on the page there. I hit export, and then I've done this obviously prepared earlier, and then this is the same file, the same content, but now in the LaTeX format. And if you sort of use HTML from time to time, you would expect to see a lot of markup. Well, we're not seeing a lot of markup here, but we are seeing some useful kind of, I suppose it's a sort of a programming formatting way to tell a computer what should be going on at this point. It's very much the opposite of a cheerful, jolly, WYSIWYG kind of an affair, where there's somebody has put a kind of abstraction layer between you and actually what's going on, which sometimes can be absolutely great, right? Sometimes you want a big button that you just press and the magic happens behind the scenes and you don't need to bother yourself with it. I feel, and this is where the control element of today's live stream comes from, I like to know exactly what's going on. I like to know that the word "that" is going to be in italics. And I don't want there to be a hidden, invisible white space hairline character after it. And I don't want there to be some verbose something or other going on under the hood that's ballooning a file that's going to make it get corrupted in a period of time. I like clarity and I like simplicity. And so this is what a LaTeX file looks like. You know, pretty kind of normal, but with some markup. And then what I do is I copy this whole thing. You can see here's the extent of it. It's not a very long novel. What have we got? Got that many lines. And then I use a service called Overleaf. Wrong one. So here's my Overleaf account. It's not a particularly expensive software as a service thing. I'm a little disheartened because of all of the new exciting jangly AI features that they've sprinkled throughout the place that I've obviously disabled as soon as I can notice them. But I've typeset a lot of publications in this and I've had a pretty happy fun time. And the way it works is here in this pane is the LaTeX code. Over here is how it renders out into a PDF. So all of this stuff at the top, this is the template I've built over years. This is the kind of front matter, none of this is actual content. There's the title verso page. So if I scroll down on the typeset bit, there's my title verso page. Then there's a blank page. and then there's the title of the book. And at the moment, there's no content in the middle. It's the start of the book and then the end. So what I do is I paste at the bottom of this template, paste my LaTeX in, recompile, and that is the book typeset. And I have a great level of trust in it. And the reason I do is because I have established certain stylistic ways of typesetting that I like. And I know that if I've programmed something to do that, rather than left it to a sort of a middleware device, an abstraction layer like InDesign, I know that I'm going to get what I want. One of the banes of a typesetter's life is widows and orphans, of course. You might see that throughout this, it's pretty well handled. I mean, you saw how much customizing I did of the text. None. So look, I haven't seen anything problematic so far. And the nice section break things, the pagination, this, that, and the other, all great. So yeah, I thought I'd share that. The one other part of that process that I have got down pat, and which I thought would be of interest, particularly if you enjoyed the live stream segment where I talked about regex searches. And if you thought, oh, regex, that looks good, I wonder if I'll ever use that again. No. Well, this is my personal list and my to-do list to myself whenever I typeset a book of the regexes that I use to do proofreading. And I do proofread manually, not least because I, quite enjoy it. But for the kind of mundane perfunctory stuff, this is how I manage it. So over the years, as a typesetter, you come across new and exciting ways to farkle up a manuscript, don't you? So every time I've come across one, I have written a regex to solve it for the next time. And then I run through them. So let's have a look at this top one. Let's see if there are any instances of this. So if I do search and I paste that, and I've got my regex thing selected there, then there is, oh, there you go. There's one. She used the word mania and then close brackets and then a full stop. So we're happy with that. What's the next one? Let's have a look at missing capital after full stop, missing brackets, duplicated word, unbalanced quotes, double spaces are good, balanced dashes are good. And that's the sort of thing, like we both knew deep down in our waters that now it takes a really keen eye, doesn't it, late at night to see the difference between a dash and an end dash. So let the computer find it. So I paste that regex in, I go there. Have we got any? No, good news. So yes, and reversed apostrophes, that's always a corker. I mean, this is a remarkably clean manuscript. Hats off to everyone. No, we're looking all right. So yes, so that's if you're firmly in the zone of your workflow being send manuscripts out of house, you don't really know what happens to them then, I just thought I'd pull up the curtain, just a little bit and share how I, a extremely, part-time typesetter, have a look at these things. But the sense under the hood there is that I wanted to share my sort of personality type, which is that I like to know exactly what's going on. I like to be in control. I like to have clarity. I like to be able to fix things myself. And I like there not to be too much bloat between me and the actual nub of the thing that I'm working on. So if that's you, and if you'd like my LaTeX, my overleaf template, by all means, I shall share it with you. Comes with no guarantees, but you do something for 20 years and you sort of end up finding the way that works for you. So let us crack on. I didn't take too long. Hopefully you fast forwarded through that. Let us crack on with the rest of our show. So what's next? Oh yeah, reporting spotlight, very good. Just a quickie today because there's a new couple of displays in, and we want to go to this page this time. We want to go to our reporting area so that I can show you this new display. And this came about, I mean, all of these segments always manage into one, don't they? But this came about because a treasured client said, wouldn't it be great if we could do this thing? So we shipped it within the week, maybe the day actually. So any old search, any old iron. Let's go to choose a display, and the new one's under lists metadata. And it's a couple of displays where you can see the works sorted oldest to newest. Bring. And there's another one where you can see the works sorted newest to oldest. Bring. So that's it really. Just wanted to let you know that there's new things that have arrived on here. If you've skipped a few live streams, I'll just mention that there's the EPUB accessibility one, which is timely at this point in history. You can also see artwork files. That's a fairly new one with the images there. If you're really behind on things, then you should check out the print book measurement overview, because that's a way of looking at data quality. And so on and so forth. Lots more coming down the line as ever, not least on production and on licensed rights deals. Watch this space. Now that we've got our eye in on getting as much as possible of your data interrogatable in this reporting area, we are obviously not resting on any laurels. We are adding weekly, adding lots more displays and search conditions. Super. So I'll keep you posted. Keep watching the notifications that come through as well, because if there's something that we think, gosh, people would, this will save more people than asked for it a job of work, then that's a great place to keep an eye out for things. Great. From our own correspondence. This is a support ticket. This isn't just one support ticket. This comes in quite frequently, and it's often an email that has been forwarded to us from a treasured client. And if you poke through the long email thread behind it, they have usually been battling with another player in the supply chain who has been on the spectrum of helpful to not helpful in terms of trying to get our client to understand why a price update hasn't gone through, why a cover image hasn't updated. You know how it is. There can be times when you think you've sent something out, you've changed your data, why isn't it on the internet? And so this is an homage, if you like, to people who send us this sort of note saying, could you just send it out because maybe that'll work? It kind of gets to the superstitious level of problem solving, doesn't it? Send it out 3 times and spin on the spot, and that should do it. So what I wanted to do was show you, and again, theme of the week is being in control of things. What I wanted to do is show you how you can find information in your account without having to bother opening an email to talk to us. And if you're, on the receiving end of opacity from some of the other people in the supply chain, and you just want to know what the facts are, you want to know what's what has actually happened. So we're going to go and have a look at some of those things. So the place I'm going to do that is on Snowbooks' real life account. And I'm doing that rather than, my local development area, which is what I do quite often on these calls, on these live streams, which is because, it's only in the real world that ONIX flies around, and no amount of test data can really get to the nub of what it's like. So there are there are two main places to go to look at what on earth is going on with ONIX, please. And the first one is at the sort of the overall level, the company level. And so I'm going to look at that. I'm going to open up my big mega menu here. I could have pressed Control twice, tap, tap. And I'm going to go to ONIX, click on that. I could have typed ONIX and hit enter. And here I land on the file transmissions page, and file transmissions are ONIX files that have gone from Consonance to somewhere else, and we've kept a note of what was in them and when they were sent and who got them and whether they actually received them or not. And so this alone is so helpful to hop into. You know, I mean, it's never book source, they're fine. But if you look at, if say book source had said, hand on heart, we did not get this ONIX message, then, you know, you feel a bit at a loss. You think, well, I thought that's how it was meant to work. It is how it's meant to work. Let's see if it actually happened. So I can see I've gone to my ONIX configuration file transmissions area. I can see the date that a file transmission started. It was on the 9th of August. And, you know, you can think, well, good, right, that's what I thought. I thought we'd sent it then. And you can see, oh, how many fragments are sent? What even is a fragment? Well, let's have a look. As you know, Consonance is a website. So let's follow our nose, as we do when navigating around the internet, following links, clicking on things to see if we become enlightened. So I'm going to press the row here, and that's going to what's it called? Show it. Some fancy word for show I was thinking of. And look at this. This is the actual logs. Now, we don't do this often in Consonance. We don't sort of pull the curtain back to such an extent that we're showing you technical logs. But this is giving you power and agency. This is showing you that at 3:15 in the morning on the 8th of the 2025 0809, Consonance connected to book source's SFTP location and switched to the ONIX directory, which is where they want their ONIX to land, and transferred this XML file. And the response back from book source's computer was the transfer is complete. And then we switched over to the images folder, the images directory, did that, and then sent anything. It wasn't relevant on this one. Changed to the ebooks directory if we're sending ebook files, not relevant on this one. And then we quitted and the other service said goodbye. This is absolute clarity as to what got sent and what happened and on what date and to whom. And it gives you power. It certainly gives us power because, you know, when you send a message to us saying, did this ever go to blah, blah, blah? We come to this page. we look at the same logs, and we wanted to make sure that you have that ability to do that as well. I have to stress, please keep emailing us. Please keep sending support tickets to us. We are not able to service you properly unless we know what's going on, unless you share with us your emerging challenges, opportunities, etc. What I'm talking about here is making sure that you know that if you want the agency and the power to be able to understand exactly what happened and see it on the page in front of you, rather than taking our word for it, rather than having to decide who was right, Consonance or the other party, you know, we want everyone to have access to your one version of truth. And if you want to see exactly what the file is, then we can go in here and we can see a little bit more information. We can see that it's an ONIX 3 or 3.1 file. We can download the file. I can transmit it again if I really want to. I'll see those transmissions again there. So that's where that's going to lead to, seeing that transmission again. Let's hit the back button, and you know, if you're so minded, you can open up that XML file and have a good look around. Let me open it in a new tab. I'm not sure how it would render actually. I'll download the file. There it is. I'll have a look at it in here. I'll open it in VS Code. And then, there's our book that we saw. And then, you can see the actual information that was sent in this file. So that, if you're looking for a particular price or something, to see, what was the price that went, this is the raw text. This is it. So, as I say, this is just an option. We are very, very happy, and it's really what we're here for, to help you along with these things. You don't need to open complicated text files if you don't want to, but you can if you want to. So this is a great option if you're that way inclined. I said at the beginning that there were two ways of getting into this sort of information. We've gone at the company level, in the round, what out of all of our products has been sent to whom and when. But we can do the same at the work level, because very often our sense on these things is that very often you're looking at sort of one or a small selection of very important works that has been, it's been noticed that something hasn't updated somewhere and publication is approaching and it's really, really important we get this right. So you can also, if there's a very, very important book, and by the way, this is an important book, the Bayer Tapestry is being loaned to the UK in the fullness of time, quite soon, in the next few months. This is a wonderful publication from Snow Books, the preeminent independent publisher. It's on the front cover, actually, I say something like, and I switched it up for a slightly more professional word. It was something like Sex, Lies and Embroidery. And who wouldn't want to read a book so described? Anyway, so you can come to this page. You can go to Data Exchange and you can look at ONIX dashboard. And here we are scoped firmly into this, the activity that's happened for this one work. So we're no longer at the across my whole list level. We're at the, I only want to know just for the moment about the activity of needle in the blood. And this is a fairly new page. Is it? Yeah, it's a fairly new page. What it shows is ONIX files sent to recipients, and there are the recipients down there, and it's by product type. So this is the paperback. Further down, we've got the ebook edition, ebook product, and we can see, who's got what. View the other ONIX fragments within the files. We can see how many files have been sent. Let's have a look at BookSource. You see, BookSource have received 12 files that contained a fragment for needle in the blood. And that will have changed over time. The way we've got things set up is that it's an incremental feed. So data goes out in an ONIX feed when something's changed. Although I think there's an additional full feed every 6 months or something like that. So if we were to look at the 12 files that it's gone in, there we can see that sort of pattern over time, back over the last couple of years. And you can see whether that product fragment, that piece of XML ONIX that just describes that one product, did it go in its own file or did it go along with 314 other products? And was it a successful transmission? And then, again, from this point, you can dive in and see, okay, well, did it go? Did it go? And sure enough, yes, it went. I knew it. So again, agency, power, definitely raise a ticket when you get stuck. Raise a ticket to talk things through. There's this funny approach in programming where people sometimes have a rubber duck on their desk. And there's a process called rubber ducking where you pick up the duck, the rubber duck, and you explain to it why you are stuck on a particular piece of code. And just the act of talking it through makes you think, oh, right, yes, of course. So if you need to use us as your rubber duck to talk through whatever weird thing is happening and you can't quite put the pieces together, talk to us, raise a ticket. We're sitting here ready to help. But for those times when all you want to do is just simply see what the heck has gone on, then these pages that I've shown you today will put power in your hands. Could have been a power move. Could have been a power move. Is a power move. The ability to know the truth of what's happened. We should have higher standards, shouldn't we? It's not too much to ask to be able to see what has happened to your data and not have the wool pulled over your eyes. Righty ho. So, don't be a stranger. Let us know as you go, any issues that you're having in other parties saying that they haven't got the ONIX. Of course, we'll send it out again, but it's just nice to know, isn't it? What's actually happened. Right, what's next? What's new? Gosh, there is barely a slide big enough to contain the things of what's new. Could have gone for a smaller font size there. So 3 things which I've jammed in. First just says 1Password. Second thing says omit from statement batches, and the other thing says marketing header. So 1Password, what do I mean by that? This is what I mean about definitely talk to us. Somebody so kindly, treasured clients so kindly, dropped us a line to say, by the way, I can't log in. Or I can log in sometimes, but it seems something weird's happening, and I keep going in this loop. Thank heavens they did, because we would never have known about this extremely niche edge case weirdness on Chrome with 1Password. So 1Password is a password manager. Fantastic that people are using password managers. Keep doing it. Very important for security. What was happening was that when 1Password was signing in to Consonance, when I click this, 1Password is going to fill in my email, it's going to fill in my password, safely, securely stored in my password manager, and it's going to hit the sign in button. So I'll do it now. Boink. And you see it's greyed out. Sign in is greyed out. And now I'm into my system. A bit slow. We're on local. So that worked just great. And what I wanted to point out there was that the button is now greyed out, because what the treasured client was doing was letting 1Password fill in the email, then fill in the password, and then clicking the sign in button, because the sign in is going to take a little bit of time to authenticate, and there's this great big purple button saying, yeah, press me, it sounds great. And then because of a security token called CRSF, can't remember which variant it is, if you do a double submission, on the second submission the security token has expired, and so Consonance won't let you in because you're trying to baffle Consonance into letting you in. Something strange is happening. Why are you not sending a security token through? Anyway, so the new thing is that the sign in button becomes greyed out now when you sign in. It shouldn't slow you down. It's no extra time has been added to any sign in there. But what it's going to do, if you're using a password manager that clicks that button faster than you do, then you're only going to make one sign-in request to Consonance. So if you've had any bother with password managers, then perhaps that will fix it. If you ever have any bother with anything, no matter how odd it seems, and even if it's to do with somebody else's software, which it always is, then just let us know and we'll fix it within the day. So that was a really fun. It was fun. Fun example of, discovering what strange thing was happening in this very specific situation, and then sorting it out so everyone can get on with their working day and actually get into the system. So that was the 1Password thing. That's live now. Omit from statement batches. This was another, should all be in correspondence. This was another treasured client saying, in reality, things change on contracts, and there may be myriad reasons why on the next statement run, this particular payee should not be included in it. Now, that might be for all sorts of reasons. Manuscript changing, reassignment of the contract, a shift from the author to a literary estate, or to because a deal has been done for, all sorts of reasons. And so I just wanted to flag where that was. So if we go to any old, oh no, I'll have to go to local actually, because this is going to be more proprietary information. Let's go to an imaginary book. We'll go to the contract for the imaginary book called Blue Cap Day. Whenever you're ready. And then we're going to see in the payees section that there's a new checkbox. So I go to contract, I go to remittances, I go to, I'll have to add a payee in order to then say that there's no need to send them a statement. Let's choose this imaginary person. And now by default, do you see, oops, go big. There we go. Including statement batches is set to and I can say and save that. And now we can still, record reality that this is a payee or has been a payee on this contract, but that will make sure that they don't get included in statement batches. So many people listening will never have this be a thing, but Consonance is all about edge cases, I think. It's those details that mean that whatever is going to happen in the funny old world of publishing, we're going to be able to handle it. So that's one very small little aspect of things there. And then the marketing header, another great inquiry from a client who said, we're not putting a header on our marketing material templates, and so there's this great big load of space at the top of the page. Can we please get rid of it? And so we've done that. I don't think that it's not quite live yet because I only did it this morning. But from this afternoon, when we next do a push to all of our production environments, that will be closed up. So this is the sort of thing where I'm going to be writing a notification and it's going to appear on this bell later on this afternoon, because it's the sort of thing where, much of our code, you don't necessarily, not everybody will even notice that we've done some work, and that's completely fine. But this is the sort of enhancement to the system where it's going to be desirable, but you have to have a heads up on it. You have to know that your marketing material that used to have a big gap at the top here is no longer going to have a big gap at the top. So this is a marketing material template that has got a banner uploaded. There's the gap. There's a gap into which the banner has been inserted. If I go back and look at this one that I just randomly did earlier, we'll see that there's no banner uploaded to this template, and so the image now sits snugly at the top, and the first element here sits nicely at the top as well. So for those sorts of advanced information sheets or flyer templates where space is at an absolute premium, and you really want to not have a huge amount of white space right at the top of the page, then by omitting to upload the banner, you're going to be able to get a lot more stuff on the page. So that's great. So those are the things that I wanted to mention about what's new. Thought I'd also say behind the scenes, there has been a lot of work on dark mode. Exciting. And this is really because one of the themes of Consonance's development this calendar year, has been about making sure that we are as cognizant of whatever we can do in terms of accessibility, whatever that means. So one of the ways that we can make the process of using Consonance enjoyable, as enjoyable as possible for corporate software, is to make it easy on your eye. particularly as the day passes and these white pages might get a little bit too much. Dark mode's the sort of thing that you can only do if your code is really good, because you don't want to write two apps, right? You don't want to say, here's the light version, here's replicated the dark version. So I'm delighted to report that our code has got good enough to make having dark mode be really quite elegant and pleasant, and the question of switching it on, switching it off, and then two different palettes get pulled in. It's also very, very future-proof and defensive. Our team has done an incredible job of making such a lot of sort of discretion between lots of different components within the app. So if we want one component to be red and one component to be blue, not sure we ever do that, and then the red one, we actually think, that should be yellow. What you don't want is for everything that's red in the entire app to then go yellow. You have to do it at the right level. So the right level has been achieved, which is great. I'm not going to show it you just yet. There'll be a big reveal, no doubt. But that is working apace. And again, thank you to the treasure client, you know who you are, for saying, any chance of dark mode because my eyes think of me. And we did, and we are, and we do. So that will come in short order. Right, what's next? What is next? Oh yes, bonus power move. The power move this week is very much in the tone of what I've been talking about in terms of having control and agency. And it's very much a look at how we do things and to see if you would like to do things like that as well. It's not for everyone. And in no way is this me saying that you have to be like us. But on the other hand, we are great. And this slide could have an F in it to make it a lot more Googleable if you want to find out what RTFM means. That's probably not safe for work in certain environments. But it's a programming phrase, like we were talking about rubber ducking earlier. This is another thing. It's a thing that urges developers, if they're stuck on something, rather than emailing the person who wrote the code saying, I don't understand your code, the sort of half-joking response is RTFM, which means read the manual. And we live and die by the principle of reading the manual. Our CTO, David Aldridge, became a very preeminent member of the Oracle community by, reading these very, very thick, sometimes obtuse manuals and really understanding what the code does. And it absolutely gives you a superpower. And that's why I've popped this on the Power Move slide for this week, because there is a lot of manual stuff that is relevant at the moment. And what we have been doing here in Consonance Towers is reading the manual a lot. And two things spring to mind. The first thing that springs to mind is EUDR. Now, I am sure that you have been, if not thinking about it this week, then being aware of it, wondering what you need to do about it. And of course, as the deadlines loom, we at Consonance are very keen to understand what it means for you so that we can enhance Consonance in the appropriate manner so that we can help you. And so, to pull the curtain up, to show you what sort of things we do to engage with this sort of process, we go to the horse's mouth, we read the manual, and we understand it, and we cross-reference it with other resources on the internet. And we're not reading only pithy takes from someone. We are going to the legislation, and we're downloading the legislation, and we're reading it. And then we're coming up for air, and we're seeing, what the suppliers throughout the supply chain are, how they have interpreted it. and then discussing that internally. We're really getting to the core of what is going to be required so that we really understand it. And I just thought it was worth mentioning that that's what we do. We're not relying on summaries from third parties that might have taken an angle in their very noble approach to try and distill this down for people. We're not only relying on that sort of thing. I think it's worth us saying that sometimes you have to understand the detail. And I was thinking, we are all so busy, and coming up to September, I know there'll be a load of strategic projects on. There's never a quiet time really in publishing. How do you add onto your plate, the downloading European legislation documentation and reading through it? Well, I was thinking, how can I say to people, you make time for this sort of thing? But I was thinking, actually, do you have the time not to? Because if you don't understand this stuff, I'm thinking now EUDR, then there are going to be a lot of repercussions down the line, and it's going to result in you not being able to sell your products in Europe, which is a large market. So there always has to be a sort of a cost-benefit analysis, doesn't there? I think for something as ground-shaking as EUDR, it's appropriate to get as much kind of terse material as possible, and at the very least know it's there, and then use trusted resources, trusted players within the supply chain, see what their take is, but still, flick through the rather densely written legislative original content. I think, and certainly that's what we're doing. And then we're cross-referencing from the horse's mouth, to sort of have our take on what the proposals are from key members of the supply chain to understand it. So, yes, join us in our internal power move, which is reading the manual. The other area that I think is worth mentioning at this point is theme codes. Now, Editor do a bang-up job of documenting things like this, standards within the trade that we all rely on in order to mark up our publications in such a way that people can find them and buy them and give us money, and then we can eat. All of this stuff exists. Go to Editor and you'll find a lot of information. And I would be the first to admit that this is absolutely quite, it's a lot to take on. And, all of the other things one has to do in one's day. Gosh, all of this just for theme codes. Well, yeah, this is the rich, absolute core, like baseline data that you need to have at least scampered through in order to understand how best to allocate theme codes to your publications. And I don't know if you're as anti-AI as I am, anti-generative AI. But if the solution to putting theme codes onto your products is to sort of outsource it to a prediction machine, without all the prediction machine has done is RTFM. It's just read the manual, and you are now relying on its interpretation of what's in the manual. Why not cut out the middle bot and save yourself a whole lot of wasted water and ethics? So I think downloading the theme codes, poor old Editor have had to go to the bother of writing all of this stuff, and they're doing it to help us all sell more books. So I feel like getting the codes in their spreadsheet format that is downloadable from that website that I just showed you, and looking at the notes and, you know, getting your eye on. I mean, if you're mad keen on sewing and embroidery, look at what the Code AFW does. Oh, carpets, all right, you know, you don't have to know everything about everything, but there will be particular areas that are relevant to your interests. If you love sea songs and shanties, then you want to be knowing all about AVLT. And it's fun, you know, this is how we describe the books that we spend so long getting ready for market. And it's doing good work, it's enhancing your knowledge, it's not going to take as long as you think, it'll keep the bots in check, and it's a power move. Read the manual is my pro tip to you in all things. Great. I think that's probably enough haranguing for one day, and I will see you next week. Back on a schedule for a bit anyway. I am going on vacation towards the end of September. Yep, first week of October. So there'll be a little bit of pre-recording around that sort of time. But in the meantime, I would. Oh yes, I meant to say actually. On the note of EUDR. Whilst I've just said, go and read it, it's fun. Obviously, we are doing a lot of work on that, and I would like you to keep your eyes peeled for. Let me just transition through to there for our notifications, because we are going as we synthesize all of this information, as other players in the supply chain decide what they're going to do. We are going to be keeping very close eye on things, making our own changes to the system, proposing those, sharing those, and notifications is where we'll be primarily doing that. I think it's much more appropriate to the sort of written form rather than me sort of shouting down the phone at you, shouting down the YouTube at you about exactly what it all is. So I would urge you to keep a very beady watch out for the jangly bell here, and you'll see notifications come through from us. Click through on your either from your email or from that notification. All of the notifications go through to your email as well. So if you've been on vacation for the summer and you come back, you know, don't just file those emails away. It's very important. Timescales are looming. It will mean the difference between selling into Europe and not selling into Europe if you have printed certain products in certain places at certain times. It's super complex. Keep watching this space for info, and sharing anything that you've come across with us as well, so that we can synthesize it and share it with everyone else as appropriate. Great. Yes. Watch this space. Fantastic. Well, have a very pleasant last week of summer week, I might say. Getting towards that way here in northern Scotland. Have a great time enjoying the dwindling summer hours, and we will see each other again this time next week.